Hello. So I am making this video to comment on a previous video I made because I was reflecting on that video and would like to share some thoughts on its content. I don't know why this suddenly won't. So this is from notes I made on the video, so I'll be referring to the notes, let's say, or reading where I wrote it really compellingly. Anyways, so So I've been reflecting on the last video I made in which I was talking about more responsibility around an opportunity for volunteering. And looking back at it, I was thinking, what's the point in thinking that way of something seemingly small or of a situation that may seem to be disproportionate to the kind of thinking being applied to it? And the answer I came up with, and this may be something I knew subconsciously, but I'm glad this came to mind, or it came to my, it became conscious to me, was the point is not just in the in that point alone, but on the additional benefit, which is the creation of a heuristic from it. So obviously the video involved lots of recursive thinking in which I was thinking of, wait, I could take this decision on volunteering at this place, but it would have this implication on my own morals, and it wouldn't have the desired impact. And it seems as if it's overthinking. And I was thinking of if of that fact, of that appearance. So I think what was happening in the video is, and now I'll read from the notes, this metacognition, this thinking about thinking, it's mulling over something. And I think I've come to realize for me that it consists in, I should have done this because I was start anyways. It consists in finding heuristics. I believe quite strongly at that one of the pillars of living a meaningful life consists in discovering these mental shortcuts, these rules of thumb that help one navigate the complexities of decision making more effectively. So when one dives into a moral problem of some sort, one isn't just trying to one is actively trying to build and refine a personal set of methodologies or methods for approaching a similar issue. So in short, the utility in that kind of thinking consists in creating mental models that can then be applied to similar situations down the road. So yes, the specific question of volunteering is important, but I genuinely grapple with it at that level. But beyond that, there's an even more crucial aim at play, which is the create. Oh my God, this is which is really thinking of that dilemma in terms of possible future ones. So I think that how this works is it's it's really an attempt at collecting information and then trying to be able at some point in future to intuitively churn out solutions when the moment comes that requires them. So it's a form of decision making that is almost preemptive. So I try to feed and feed and feed the intuition, and then when the time comes, the solution comes in what appears to be almost a preternatural way, or it seems as if it materialized out of nowhere. But that's not the case, because subconsciously this heuristic has been formed, and it really encompasses a vast array of issues that could possibly materialize. And I have this example of how Helen Mirren, in one of her, the British actress, in one of her master classes, says of how, as an actress, she trained and trained and trained and trained and trained, and then a time comes when she threw. Well, I guess she said she trains, she practices, or I think her lines, and then the time comes and she throws away the script and just flows into it. So that's the same idea here. It's train strenuously. So you're putting in the effort into learning a thing. And then once that, what seems like grueling reflection and metacognition and recursive thinking formulates some sort of mental model. It may be abstract. So I may not come out of that exercise thinking, oh, this is the general rule of thumb in addressing situations wherein what seems to be the aim conflicts with what appears to be the out. Oh my God, I hope the sound is on. Ooh. I hope it is. If it isn't, I'll enjoy listening, watching my lips move. Because why isn't this? Just a sec. Um, if it isn't, that will be a chance to reread this nicely or to redo it better. But I'll believe it's going. But this I've actually gone on for a while. But yeah, so it's basically being able to create that mental model, and then so it is. I was saying, yeah. So it isn't quite coming out of that exercise thinking. I now know how to approach all situations in which I thought a thing to have one name. It has a different name in the real world, in real terms. I now know how to fix all such problems, but rather having an abstract sense of that outcome. And interestingly, much of this is subconscious because it's all happening intuitively, and then when the moment of action comes, it manifests. And I know this because one, research says so, that subconsciously we think of things that we've tried to bring to our things from our subconscious do materialize into our conscious thinking. But two, I think I've experienced the same, where a thing about which I've reflected, thought deeply about, or thought of something analogous to it impacts action in future. But it's also a sense of mental flexibility where, from exercising this or cultivating this habit, one has the confidence in approaching situations in general, because one knows they've at some point thought through some way of tackling the issue. I don't know if to go back to the script, but I feel I've delivered most of what I wanted to say. I think two last things I'd say is great ways in my mind to cultivate this. Oh, I'm so grateful. This book actually, it's called the Almanac of Naval. I don't want to show you the cover because I spilled coffee on it, and that's kind of embarrassing. But yeah, so they thought to make a white book. Why not? But anyways, one of the what was I even saying? I just forgot there, but we could go along with the white book, which is I was reading how one of my favorite philosophers said to a friend, "Oh, this book I'm sending you is quite dirty, but that's good because then you could read it in the engine room because this guy was fighting the guy whom he sent the book." Anyways, but yeah, so I was actually talking about this book. I now remember. I think one of the things that he says in this book is it's quite important to create these mental models. And in fact, I now remember what I was saying, which is I think one way of cultivating this is reading of great people, of reading autobiographies, biographies, because then one gets a template of what humans can accomplish. And when one sets that as a benchmark, I think it's helpful in informing one's own practice. The other is obviously reading research, because that gets you closer to the truth, gets one as close to the truth as possible. It's obviously flawed. There's obviously politics involved, but oh, three people watching. Who are you? Wow, this is sure. Is this a mistake? I hope not. No, it isn't. But hey, three people. Can feel free to drop off if this gets boring. Why would I say that? Anyways, but yeah, I think creating that cultivating that mindset, reading research, and I think the last thing is trying to be as rational as possible in all situations and trying to see the world as it is, not clouded by sentiment, not clouded by emotion, trying to be as close to truth as possible. So, yeah, I think those are some ways to cultivate these mental models. And I think it has been deeply enriching. And that's something I'm hoping to build on. Um, so, yeah, I think I've said much of what I wanted to say in this. Yeah, I just wanted to get this out there. And thanks a lot, everyone. And cheers. I hope this made some sense. But cheers.